Hello everyone and welcome to another Minecraft mod showcase. This is part 2 of my Applied Energistics 2 showcase in 1.16.1. If you didn't watch the first part of the showcase, I'll recommend you watch that one first before this one. I'll leave a link in the description to the first video as well as the playlist for Applied Energistics. This video is mainly going to be focused on fluid storage and auto crafting. So without further ado, let's get into the showcase. So in the first video, I said there are ways of speeding up the growth of these pure crystal seeds. So the way you do that is with these crystal growth accelerators. The crystal growth accelerators, if you don't know, are crafted with 4 iron ingots, 2 quartz glass, 2 Flux ME glass cables, and 1 Flux blocks. The Flux blocks is just crafted with 4 Flux crystals and 8 Flux pure crystals. Anyway, so the way you use these is pretty easy. So you get a water source and then you surround it with up to from 1 to 6, I believe. 1 to 6 growth accelerators. The accelerators have to be touching the water source. They can't be like here or something. Anyway, so you put them around the water source and then you power them with any cable. And obviously you have to give it power. I've just got a creative energy cell. And so yeah, so you do that and then you can get either one of the 3 crystal seeds and you just chuck them in. And if you remember the last video, it took about like 10 minutes to get only to 3%. So this one is significantly faster. So now that I'm just waiting for a couple of seconds, you can see that it's already 9%. So it's significantly faster than the last one. So the next thing I'm going to cover is I believe, water storage. So the fluid storage, or not water storage, but the fluid storage is very similar to the normal item storage. It's actually extremely easy to set up. So all you need is the fluid cells, which I talked about over there in the last video, and you need a ME fluid terminal. The ME fluid terminal is simply just crafted with a Logic processor, a lapis lazuli, and a ME terminal, which I talked about in the last video. And the way you craft the fluid storage cells, they're all pretty similar to the normal storage cells. So it's normal like quartz glass and redstone dust and iron ingots for the actual frame of it, but for the thing that's different is obviously the fluid storage component, and they're all crafted like this with 4 lapis, a calculator processor, and the 3 of the tier below component, and it's all the same except for the last one, which is just 4 lapis, 4 Certus quartz crystals of any kind, and a logic processor to make 1K ME fluid storage component. So fluid storage isn't extremely useful in the vanilla game, just because there's only 2 liquids that you can actually use in it, and that's water and lava. Milk isn't a valid liquid that you can actually use. But yeah, so you can only use water and lava. So I've got mechanism installed, which I think adds up to 16 new liquids. So if I just right click the ME fluid terminal when it's connected to this ME drive and power, obviously, you can see it's a little different. It looks a little like the item terminal, the ME terminal, I believe it's called, except it doesn't store items; it stores fluids. So you can see here we've got water and lava, but we also got things from mechanisms. So we've got hydrofluoric acid, hydrogen, we've got chlorine, and heavy water. But anyway, so there are multiple ways of importing and exporting liquids from the fluid system. But if I just go get some buckets of an empty one and a water bucket, and so you can import and export liquids pretty simply with a bucket and a bucket of the liquid. So if I just get the bucket of water, you can see it's got 4.4 buckets of water in here. If I left click anywhere on the terminal, it will just empty it, and now it's 5.4. And if I want to take out any liquid, I can just get a bucket and left click on that liquid. So if I want liquid oxygen, I can just click that, and now I've got liquid oxygen. And it's pretty simple. You can do it with anything, put it in and out. So there are other ways of importing and exporting, but I'll talk about that in a future episode. So next, I'm going to get on to auto crafting. So auto crafting can seem quite complicated at first, but it isn't. So the first thing you'll need to do is to write instructions for something to craft. So the instructions in AE2 are called patterns. And so you need a blank pattern first, and they look a little something like this. And the way you craft them is simply just 3 iron ingots, 3 glowstone dust, 2 quartz glass, and a Certus quartz crystal. And if you get that, each pattern will give you a different recipe. And to actually modify these patterns so that you can customize what recipes they craft, you'll need to craft an ME pattern terminal. The ME pattern terminal is simply crafted with an ME craft terminal and an engineer processor. So after you made that, if you just right click on it, you can see it's a GUI very similar to the crafting terminal, but you can see here instead that it's got a slightly different looking crafting grid, and that's not meant to be clicked. And you can see it's got a slightly different crafting grid, and it's also got this slot on the side. So, and you can see here that you can put the blank patterns in here. So, if you want to make your own recipe, so say I want to automate the crafting of sticks, so I can just put them in here, and you see sticks will be there. You can use this as a normal crafting terminal if you wanted to, but you don't want to do that. So what you want to do is have the sticks in there, and basically, you click the encode pattern when you have at least one blank pattern in there. And then you can see here, now I made an encoded pattern. You can see what that pattern is by just holding shift, and it'll show you the pattern. And if another thing you should remember is this little button here called item substitution. So if you know what OR dictionary it is, it's basically to enable or disable it. But if you don't know what it is, OR dictionary is basically each like item has like they're put in categories. So like all the woods are all in one category called like plank wood, and like they have like logs would be like wood log. So like basically you can have it so it will accept any kinds of wood, so not just oak planks. Obviously you can deselect that if you wanted to, so it'll only accept oak planks. But anyway, you don't need to worry about that much. So after you've got your encoded pattern, you need to use it in a machine, and there's two machines that this encoded pattern can go into. There's the first one is the molecular assembler, and the second one is the ME interface. So the first one I'll talk about is the molecular assembler. This is kind of like the very basics of auto crafting. So if you right click it, well, first of all, I should probably tell you the recipe. The recipe for this is just 4 iron ingots, 2 quartz glass, a crafting table, a formation core, and an annihilation core. So if you just right click on it, you can see you have a little similar GUI to a crafting table, except it's got these slots on the side, which you don't really need to worry about. A little power bar, and a slot for your pattern. So if you just go put your pattern in here, nothing will happen, obviously, because there's no items going into it. So that's my stick pattern, which will makes 4 sticks with 2 oak planks. And then the way you put these into the system, you don't just put them in like this. So if you don't just go, you can't put anything in. Oh, you can actually. Oh, okay. Well, you're not meant to do that anyway, because that kind of just removes the purpose of it. Because it's just a slower electricity using crafting table. Oh, by the way, you need to connect this to a cable, but it doesn't use up any of the channels. So yeah, it doesn't. So the way you're meant to use this is by with the molecular assembler by itself, you need an input and an output. So I've just got a hopper going into the side and out the bottom. You can use any things like pipes and things like that from other mods. So if I just go put these planks in here, you can see here that it's crafting sticks, and you can see it's going into the bottom here. So that's the very, very basics of auto crafting, but it isn't very useful because you can't link it up to your ME system very easily. So that's what the ME interface is used for. So if I just take this pattern back, so the ME interface will basically interact between your AE system and your molecular assembler. So if I right click on here, you've got a big GUI with a whole lot of stuff on it. But the thing you really need to worry about is the patterns at the bottom. So these slots are the same as the one in the molecular assembler, but instead there's 9 slots instead of 1. So you can put up to 9 different patterns in here, and this will interact between the molecular assembler. So if you just place a molecular assembler on it, and it doesn't need to be connected via cable because it's connected to the ME interface. A thing you should note is this will use up a channel. So now I've got this encoded pattern in there, and nothing's in here. And what you want to do is you go over to your crafting terminal or your ME terminal, and you can see here now there's a stick here that has craft written under it. So if I just go right click it and I click it, you can select how many sticks you want made. So this will do in batches of 4 because the pattern will make two planks into 4 things. So if I click 10, I'll make if I make 10, it'll make 40 sticks. If I click next, you can see it says available. This is how much it will use. So it will do 6 sticks and to craft 12. Oh, okay, I'm wrong. Sorry, so it will actually craft the closest number to what it can. So if you select 10, obviously you can't divide 4 into 10, so it just does the closest number, which is 12. It'll always go more than less. So you see, it requires 6 sticks and 6 planks to make 12 sticks. And you can start, but it does require a CPU, crafting CPU. And the crafting CPUs, they're basically do all the thinking behind the crafting. So the crafting CPUs, they come in 4 varieties. I believe there's the normal 1K one, there's the 4K one, the 6K one, and the 64K one. So these are all used for, like I said, the thinking behind all the crafting. And the reason you craft different sides on is because the more complicated your recipe is, the more like bytes it will use, which is like 1,000 bytes in a K, obviously. So yeah, so I select 11 sticks, and it says it requires 44 bytes. So this is a very small and simple crafting recipe, but when you get more advanced and complicated ones, it require more and more bytes. So what you do with these crafting storages, you just place them down, and you can see they'll by themselves. Oh, they will do that. Okay, interesting. So you can see here that they are connected to the system. They'll all use up a channel each, but they are multi-block, so you can just connect them to each other by just shift right clicking. And you see, you can't have things like that, but you can just have big straight lines, or you can have panels like that, but you can't have like weird, like irregular shapes like that. So you can see here, would be considered a 5K crafting storage because there's 5 connected to it, and this will only use up one what's it called? One channel. So if I go into here now and I select the stick and I craft my 10, you can see now it's still 43 bytes, but you can see now it says crafting CPU automatic. So this will automatically select a CPU from your system. I've only got one, so you can see if I click it, it will only craft it'll only do, it says crafting CPU 0, and if I click it again, it'll just cycle between automatic and 0. You can see it stores 5,120, and this one only requires 43, so it's a bit overkill, but that doesn't matter. So you can start, and it's crafting them now. And you can see we just got the 12.6 that we wanted. So that's kind of like your basics of auto crafting, like less basic than this, but more automatic, I guess. So you might have run into the issue with running out of channels on your lines. So you can see here, I'm actually got 5 out of 8 channels here. Obviously, I can upgrade this to a dense cable, but eventually I will use up like 32 channels. So the only way to overcome this is with one of these things, an ME controller. So an ME controller is pretty much just 4 skystone, 4 pure fluix crystals, and an engineering processor. So when you place them down, they look like this. But when you give them power, I'll just connect it here. It'll have this rainbow animation. So you can connect these together and make like multi-block structures like this. And basically what they do is, so each side of my ME controller, it will be 32 channels. So I can place like some more channels here, and there'll be another 32 3 channels to use. So I don't have to connect to this one. So yeah, I could just like connect up a ME interface, and then see it's gonna just connect this. So I could set up another molecular assembler there for whatever is in there, and it'll use up one channel instead of connecting to this one. So it's pretty simple. There are some limitations behind this. So you can't have multiple ME controllers on one line. So I've got this one here. I can't just go over here and place another one, because the system will go red because I've got multiple. So you have to do a multi-block structure if you want multiple. And the thing is, you can't place them in certain patterns. So you can do things like this and like that, but you can't like go like things and do like this. So see here, it's go like all a bit of a light gray color. If I just connect this up to power, I'll just disconnect this one actually. You can see it's got this rainbow animation except for the middle. So it'll connect to the outside but not the middle, because the middle is not doing anything at the moment because it just doesn't work. So if I just go place all these cables back and do that, yep. So that's the ME controller. Probably should have covered that in the last video, but didn't. Anyway, so next I'm going to talk about machine crafting. So you can do more than just auto crafting with the molecular assembly. You can do other machines from other mods and like furnaces and stuff like that. So I here have just got a couple of machines set up. I've just got another molecular assembler, but I've also got a energized smelter from Mechanism and a formalic assemblator from Mechanism as well. So if I just place my energized smelter and formalic assemblator on these, and you can see that I've got no recipe in here. So the way you craft recipes for like furnaces and stuff. Oh, by the way, this is basically just a electric furnace, and this is another auto crafter from Mechanism. Anyway, so the way I get a crafting recipe for the energized smelter or a furnace, you have to go back to your pattern terminal, and I just clear this. And you need to click the crafting table here, and it'll switch over to the processing pattern. And the processing pattern looks a little different to the normal one. You can see here, it's all the same here, but you've got 3 outputs instead of 1. And basically, so say I want to automate iron, the production of iron. So if I just go get some iron here, and so say because the way you can use this, you can smelt iron up. Obviously, everyone knows you can smelt iron in a furnace. So I just place 1 iron here. Doesn't matter where you place it. You can just place it anywhere. I've got 1 iron, and then I got an iron ingot here. So that's basically saying it'll put in 1 iron and output an iron ingot. So if I have recipes that like output multiple items, I can say like, for some reason I've got some weird mod installed, like Craft Tweaker installed, and it's for some reason when you smelt 1 iron ore, you get like an iron ingot and another iron ore output. So it'll now output an iron ingot and iron ore. Anyway, that doesn't matter. So you can see here I've got this, and if I just click the encode pattern, it'll encode a pattern for iron ore. It'll say create with 1 iron ingot. To create 1 iron ingot, you'll need 4 iron ore. So if I just go over here and take this over to my little ME interface, place this in here. If I go, actually I need to talk about the input and output of things. So you may know that furnace, like vanilla Minecraft furnaces, they can only output and input from certain sides. So if I just go place this down, you can only input items of a hopper in the top of this. So if I just go get some logs. So if I get a log, and if I get a furnace and place it at the top of this, you can only input from the top. So if I put items in here, you can see it'll go into the top. And if I want items to go in the fuel slot, it has to go into the side. And if I want items to go out, I have to go out of the bottom. So you can see here, after this smelt, it will only output the bottom. So you can't output from other sides. So certain things like the furnace, obviously, if you want to automate that, that's a little difficult just because you can only input and output on certain sides. Basically, the items, this energized smelter, it's special because it's from Mechanism and it allows you to input and output from certain sides. You can see here, this is the bottom of the energized smelter, and it's going to input and output. So you don't really worry about that unless you're using machines that don't have input and output on the same side. If you are using machines that don't input and output on the same side, you have to put the ME interface onto the side that is the input, and then you have to get a pipe going from the output of the block and run it into the ME interface, so the system will work and won't be all a big buggy mess. So yeah, so I've just made my energized smelter. It's all set up properly. So if I go over to here, my iron ingots now here. So say I want to craft 100 iron. I can say, yep, I can do that. Available 100. Crafting this makes to make 100. It requires 324 bytes, so a bit more than my sticks. Quite a bit more actually. And that's fine because my storage on my CPU is 5,120. If I click start now, you can see if I click up here in the crafting status, it will tell you what's crafting in the system. So I've got some stored and it's telling you what's crafted and what's scheduled. So if I go cancel that now. Oh no, okay. Sorry, I just made a mistake. I've accidentally cancelled my order. So yeah, I got 1 iron at least, but I can just do that again. So yeah, we'll go 20 iron. So now it's doing it. If I go over here, you can see my energized smelter is now working. It's got inputted all this iron from the previous order. So it might get a bit clogged up. So just be careful not to mess up your system. And you can see that it's outputting. It's not in here anymore. But yeah, it's outputted into here. So you don't just have to use autocrafters from the molecular assembler. You can also use autocrafters from other mods if it suits you better. So you can see I've just got a formalic assemblator, and I've just got a recipe in here. And I've just got a piston recipe put in here, so I can simply just craft a piston from over here, and it will work just the same. So I'm going to craft like 2 pistons, and actually here now we've run into an issue because I think oh no, never mind. Okay, I am wrong. I just cancelled again. Okay, I keep doing that. Anyway, so basically it would have crafted if I didn't cancel the recipe. So now I'm going to talk about how smart the AE system is when auto crafting is here. So if I just go and take all this iron out first because it's being very loud. So if say I've got a pickaxe recipe here, and I only let's take all these out actually. So say I don't have any iron or sticks so I click craft. Say I want for some reason 10 iron pickaxes. It says to craft 10 you'll need 30 iron and 20 sticks. Well, we don't have that available, so it's going to actually automatically take recipes from the other auto crafting stuff and it's going to use 10 of the wood and 30 of the iron that's already stored in there, and it'll automatically craft this. And this isn't anything else fancy, it's just because we've already got up a stick recipe and an iron recipe, so it'll automatically do that. It's pretty cool. So it makes it so it's a lot less tedious to use the auto crafting. So yeah, to have 10 pickaxes get crafted. So this requires 209 bytes because it's a complicated recipe because there's lots of different things as to switch between. So you can start, and you can see here the sticks have started crafting in here, and the iron has started smelting in here. And anytime soon now, after we get enough sticks and iron, it should start crafting in this molecular assembler. So anyway, the final thing on this video is the ME interface. So the ME interface terminal. So the ME interface terminal allows you to manage your recipes better. So if I right click it, first of all, I should actually tell you the recipe. The recipe is an ME interface, a panel, just an illuminated panel of any sorts, and an engineering processor. So if I right click it and it's connected to my system, you can see that I can see all the auto crafting machines I've got set up. So it'll tell me all the things that are connected to my ME interfaces. So you can see I've got one energized smelter, one formalic assembler, and I've got 2 molecular assemblers, which, yeah, the 2 here. And so you can see I can, like, manage, so say I don't want to, like, move my pattern from the formalic assembler over to the molecular assembler because I think this is faster. So I can do that, or I can move the stuff around. I don't want to move it around at the moment, just because the thing's being a bit strange, because it's going to be all crafting and stuff. Anyway, so that's it for this video. The next video is going to be on spatial storage and how to trap your friends in hard drives. So, like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you later. Bye!